Kids, if children are the living messages that we send to a time that we will not see, Save Our Kids is an opportunity for you to be introduced to a few school and student helpers that will support each child's individual journey. If there is a space or a place to improve the lives of our children, we know a few families and business owners who have made it their business to answer the call for help and provide a solution to those quietly discussed challenges that impact our children and eventually us all. We could not just choose one kiddo to save, so we are asking for your help to reach more. Join Keeping Your Kids Safe as we identify some of the problems and share a few solutions that have been created just for you.
Hello, friends.
Hey, Tabitha.
Hello, how are you today? Yay, we get to do this again. New people, new faces, new experiences. I'm all about that. So thank you both for agreeing to be here with me today. We're going to have an amazing conversation. I can't wait, right? So just like normal, we always just start with having you to be able to introduce yourselves, tell people who you are, what you do, and who you want to work with. So we're going to go ahead and start with, I'm in a different position, so I have to do some things. All right, so we'll start with Anne. So hi, Anne. Please share with everybody what you do.
Hey, Tabitha. Thank you so much for having me on today. My name's Anne Sullivan. I'm founder and CEO of Lifestream Digital Innovations, where we're really working to help empower not only students, but families to be able to showcase themselves effectively and harness their digital media effectively so they can really understand themselves and articulate their story well, whether it be for the high school, college, or job application process or just having a conversation.
Yeah, I like that. So when I first met you and I dug into Lifestream and looked around, I was like, okay, so I can actually use this for other things. But I like the way you put it together, especially for some of the things that I noticed that it can do, which is helping those students differentiate themselves from their friends. Nothing worse than having an identical resume and not knowing which one to pick.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. Individuality is actually critical and key nowadays.
Exactly. So cool. I can't wait to dig into a conversation with you today. All right, Dr. Richardson, how are you? Tell everybody who you are, friend.
I'm blessed to be living. I'm Dr. Richardson, founder and president of Different Reasons Incorporated. I'm also a speaker at School Pro K-12. And what we do is we globally redevelop individuals for the future generations of leadership. We also are redefining and improving our global education system. That's what we do here at Different Reasons. And at School Pro K-12, we go around and we speak and work with different school systems and districts all throughout the United States to improve, for curriculum development, more or less for the benefit of the children, so that we can, kind of unlearn the things that no longer works for our global society and retrain and redevelop and reteach so that we can continue to grow going forward. Because these are things that we need, even as educators, we need our children to be educated for future development, because when we're in our 80s and 90s, they're going to be the new innovators creating the systems that we need to survive until it's time for us to leave.
Yeah, I agree 100%. So this is one of the reasons why I do this, is because at the end of the day, we cannot walk around believing that we're here forever, because we're not. And we do have to pass the baton. I told you this light was about to do something really crazy. I was like, this light is going to wait until I'm on camera to decide to do something really insane. But because everything we do impacts our children and who's coming up next. And in order for us to pass the baton successfully, we really do need to be mindful of what we are teaching them to do, so that when they take over, we're gonna, we're okay. We're like, we feel good and confident about them taking over. Not, oh my gosh, I think they're coming to get us.
Yes.
Right. So that's pretty cool. Thank you for being here.
Yes, thank you.
All right, and then there's me. My name is Tabitha Barron. I am the founder of Keeping Your Kids Safe. Because of an incident that happened with my family, I decided to create a solution that allows each child to effectively communicate their way home. You as a parent will get a text message during the dismissal process, allowing you to participate in the dismissal of your child. ensuring that they make it to the next destination as instructed. We do cover walkers and bikers, car riders, childcare bus riders, and the yellow bus riders, because 100% of the student population needs to be accounted for arrival and dismissal to avoid any nefarious behavior. All right. And then to ask everyone, if you could please do me a favor and scan that QR code. Where we go? QR code, follow, like, and subscribe to that channel. All of the episodes are there, compiled over there. You're able to share in all of the new videos and information that we provide. Your help and subscription is very much welcome and appreciated. Okay, so now we're going to go into the conversation. So in order for us, I guess I got to put it back. In order for us to solve for anything, we have to understand what we're solving for. One of the things that I always like to do is give the numbers. Today, I'm going to give you some numbers, but I'm going to give you some context. Thank you, Sandal. Thank you, Sia, for being here. So here we are. Hi, Edward. My thing is this. We're solving for, what did I say? 50 million children every year go to school, right? And what's happening, I think, I've had some changes or things happening for me, and I kind of struggled a little bit. One of the reasons why I created Save Our Kids is because I actually figured out that there were a lot of different business owners that were working towards helping school officials, parents, and community improve the development of the children. But what is happening is that a lot of those business owners were being shut out or being told that either they were too small or we don't have that problem, which actually caused enough frustration in me to say I have to do something different. So the one thing is that we're here to bring awareness. This platform is not meant to tell you and point out all the wrong that you're doing as a teacher and as an administrator. This is 100% not meant for that. This is meant to say that I am a product of public school. I came out and I'm okay. And I moved forward and went to college and was able to continue my career. What I'm saying is that I am unhappy about the third time I've gone through school in the Educate K through 12, which the outcome for my niece and my children were different from the outcome that I received. That is not saying that you are a bad teacher or you're a bad administrator. It's saying that we're losing control over the education that we're providing to our students. And that is bothersome because until we get our hands around education and put in and pour into it the good that we want to come out of it, we're going to continue to degrade in our society. And that's not something that's favorable for anyone. So if you think about it, when you have 50 million children going to school every single school year, with 90,000 schools across the United States, with 55% of the teaching staff wanting to quit, I strongly believe that there is something that we're solving for at that point. There are a lot of people complaining, complaining is a bad word to use. A lot of people are raising the flag and shining a light in places. It's not just about a salary. It's not just about respect. And it's not just about a workload. It's about a multitude of things. At the end of the day, every single human being wants to be seen, heard, and respected. Those are items and things that are not readily given out in education. I would like to give you your flowers. You're doing a great job with the information and what you have in front of you. We want you to do better. We want you to have the ability to do better. And we want to provide the opportunity and space for you to do better. This is why Save Our Kids is here. I'm not here to point any fingers and things like that. Parents don't have enough information to support you as teachers. Teachers don't have enough information to support you as parents, and the superintendents and the leadership that is sending the rules downward do not have enough information to support both. That is why the community, which is us, is going to be able to help support you to achieve the ultimate goal for your child's education at the end of this. So if you are here because you want to learn more about what we're doing to help support your schools, please go ahead and send the direct message, find us on LinkedIn or anything like that, and let us know how we can support you. We have to do this together, because if you say there are 50 million children in the United States that are going to school, 18 million parents, that's 18 million families, is giving you that 50 million. Out of that 18 million families, you only have 4 million teachers. Do you see what's happening? We went from 50 down to 18, down to 4 million people that are responsible for managing our children and every day. And they are the co-parent to our child, right? We have to do better. We have 37% that can't read on grade level. We have, and that's reading and math. We have children who are definitely not willing to go to school anymore. They don't want to do it. I've been told that about 7 million children are out of school. And if you look at the numbers, they are actually estimating by 2031 that the number will drop to 46.9 million children will be actually enrolled in school. That is definitely a loss. And that is going to they're going to feel the financial pain for that. So with that being said, we are only here to have a conversation about the challenges we see and then what we can do to support and what are we doing to help you. So if you know teachers or principals that would like to come and join our fight to save our kids, please let me know. Send me a direct message. I am open for the conversation. All right, so let's get started. So I asked you too before and earlier, what was one thing, what is a challenge? What is one of the things that you see right now that is happening that you would like to see different? So what made you come here? Let's talk about it. Go. And I see you nodding.
Sure. No, that's great. So, I think one thing that our schools do really well with is actually trying to help kids protect them from, like online digital safety. What I'd love to see, where I don't see is where schools are helping kids to empower themselves through their digital media. And what I mean by that is by helping kids to understand how to harness their digital media effectively, because now everything's digital. Their worksheets are digital. Their writing assignments are digital. So when I'm talking about digital media, I'm not just talking about pictures and videos, which of course are digital media, but the Adobe Acrobat files, all Microsoft, anything that they are doing today is digital. And now they're starting with digital stuff in kindergarten, right? And they even code now, starting in kindergarten and pre-K. And that's wonderful. So these are all the positive things that the schools are doing. The problem is the digital media is all over the place, right? They've got it on, their school networks. And especially as they get older, they've got it on their phones, on their tablets, on their laptops, on their desktops. And what schools aren't doing effectively is realizing that kids have digital media everywhere and families have digital media everywhere. And what we used to do when we were growing up with our little manila folders as kids, or the pocket folders that we all had, and the scrapbooks that we all had, and the pictures hanging around the house that we all had that don't exist anymore, make a difference in our lives. And it makes a difference in our children's lives. And it's not necessarily a positive difference. And what I'd love to see schools do better is to help kids harness all of that digital media effectively and bring it together so that they can understand their value. They can self-reflect on it. They can say, hey, look at that project I did. Hey, look at that, thing that I did. Hey, look at this. Hey, look at that. And you can tell them stories about your history too and what you did. And there's this collaborative nature among families that's missing, and among teachers with their students that's missing, that collaboration, because they're not looking at these things all in one place. And it's really impacting creativity, and it's impacting personal growth. And that's where we at LifeStream are really trying to work with not only families and students to be able to harness their digital media well, but we love working with schools and colleges to really help see their students differently, to help evaluate students that are applying to these schools differently, so that they can really help them see the value of an applicant beyond, let's say, their tactical grades and test scores, and look at them as a human being as somebody who has all these great things to bring to the table, and seeing a person for their strengths and not just for their weaknesses.
Yes.
And that's what we try to effectively do.
I love that. The fact of the matter is that I have a note here that says focusing on the deficit. So many times we focus on the deficit. And so therefore we have this thing that happens where when someone walks in and we automatically make this assumption based on just what we visually see, and we lean into what they can't do versus the things that they can do. And it actually causes more harm. And it happens in multiple places. So the fact that you're able to, first of all the pictures on the refrigerator, I kind of miss that sometimes because mine's aren't little anymore. So, I kind of miss the handprints or whatever design they've decided to do, or, you know, the noodle necklaces and things like that, because those are the things that, you know, that showed me what direction they were going into. But when it's time to go to college and things like that, I think that that I wish I would have had something like this, which would have been able to pull together a portfolio, so to speak, from the beginning till now, and showing the progression of me, like as a student, professionally developing, you know, into the next leg of my life. And so I think that that's amazing. So
and that's why we, thank you. And that's why we say it's making memories more meaningful. So with Livestream, we help students like harness that digital media, but then they don't have, what goes in doesn't have to go out. That's the thing. So going back to digital, you know, privacy and the importance of being digitally responsible, this is private. It's not another social media site. It's not like, you know, LinkedIn or other things where you can, you know, see things. It's meant to be yours and meant to be private. And then you can select out some or all of what's in that digital memory box to share. And what we've really found, especially in the high school and college application process, and particularly in the college application process, when students have their digital media all in one spot, it, number one, prepares them really well for the application because they have what they need. But it also helps them be able to reflect on what they've done and the value that they're bringing to their college or university. And then they're able to communicate better about what they can bring to that college or university and how well they match with it. So it's really been a nice progression of, or evolution, if you will, of our business, to watch kids who started out just kind of, you know, I started this out actually as a mom too. I had a problem with my own kids. My kids, you know, their digital media was everywhere, but they couldn't showcase themselves well either. So when I found out other moms had that problem, that's actually how Livestream was born. And so, you know, but when you can actually see other people's kids putting this together and then being able to see, watching their evolution, once they've been able to reflect on what they've done, the power of that self-reflection is really immeasurable. It really is, because it really helps them, that sense of pride, that sense of ownership, that sense of excitement that happens in a child when they look at what they've done. It's just priceless.
Yes. And so now there's a couple of things. One is that Kathy might be a good connection for you. And I'm pretty sure she'll show up because she heard her name and she shows up every time. So Kathy, if you're watching, you're going to connect with Kathy because she's actually, she helps to bridge the gap for college, right? But also you're talking mostly communication. And so now we'll be able to roll Dr. Richardson in, because you're saying communication. So if parents can actually use this Livestream for communicating back and forth with the teachers about this is the work that they're doing and things like that, this is actually an additional support for the students and the teaching staff. See, I told you she's here.
That's exactly right. Hi, Kathy.
Kathy. So Kathy, you need to connect with Ann. So my thing is that so communication is key in a lot of things. And that is where I believe that's where a lot of our trouble is starting. So Dr. Richardson, you talked about a global problem that we're having. Communication is the foundation of a lot of those challenges that everyone is having around the globe. So share with us a little bit about what you're thinking when it comes to that.
Yeah. So like Anne said something really important. She talked about the idea of the youth feeling accomplished when they finish a project. And what that does, that process happens through communication. And communication is not necessarily, words, because we communicate with our five senses. That's the holistic system of what communication is. And we've been trained and indoctrinated on the idea of it being just words. Like, no, we communicate visually too, with colors. We see things and it helps us to recognize and align with other aspects of living. So now we have this global system of where we're not properly communicating or not understanding just how much we can communicate even without words, because we and we have proof. We have people who are blind and we have people who are deaf, and we're still able to understand them through hieroglyphics, through sign language, through all of these different methods. We write codes on items on the wall where it's someone who's blind, they can feel, and based on the sequence of the whatever the communication, I don't know the term for it, but based on the sequence of the indentation, they know exactly what that word is saying. They've been trained to do it that way. So now we have a global system of where we're promoting our own ignorance because we're not unlearning the things that we've taught ourselves that is good for us as a human society. So let's say it this way, right? So now we have probably the leading technology is leading in everything right now. Tech is the epitome of human interaction, human of education, of business. Technology is leading everything, and what we've done is we've created technology we've programmed it through our own intelligence, and now we have technology programming us, and now we are losing the essence of who we are as engineers. I just, while I was in Paris, I talked about STEM and what STEM actually is. STEM is the largest global education program we will ever know. It's based on biodiversity. So you have the science, the technology, the engineering, and the mathematics. And then that system, it has to complement one another. So you don't have science without technology, because technology proves science. Engineering proves technology. Mathematics proves engineering. Mathematics also proves science, and science also proves mathematics. Mathematics proves engineering. Engineering proves technology. Technology improves science. And it's a system that goes. It's an infinite system. One element of that system cannot exist without the other. It's the same way as the yin yang theory. If you look at fire and water are based on elemental composition, which is chemistry. And chemistry is the proven theory of how all elements align so that one thing can actually exist. And that one thing that actually exists is us. It's us, like the people. It's the universal synergy. It's the universal synthesis of how all of these systems align. So now in our education system, we've allowed COVID. Actually, let's go this direction, right? So COVID, which was one of the most devastating things that we've known in our world history. It's not the worst, but it's one of the the worst things that could have ever happened to us. And it showed us just how much we don't need each other, but it shows us just how much we actually do. So we've been able to see both sides of that. So, you have the equivalent opposite to everything, no matter what it is. So now when you look at how we were forced to survive through technology during the times of COVID, what did that do? It helped us develop it more and more. And then it was actually the perfect timing to activate or enact what we have as AI. And now we have artificial intelligence from the technology, which really started in our minds first. It's the proof of what we can actually do with our minds. We've been seeing this in front of us for years. I'm a millennial, so I remember the RoboCop movies. I remember. I understand iRobot. I understand WALL-E. I understand Jimmy Neutron. I understand all of these different, the Dexter's Laboratory. We've been teaching it and showing it to each other for so long, but we've been entertained by it, and that's what technology. It should have stayed there. It should have stayed there to entertain us, to bridge the gap between the stress and the excitement, because the things that we enjoy most are the things that we create, the things that we can do with our hands, the things that we can do collectively with people. Why do we love, if we look at Dubai is seen now as probably one of the most eye-engaging places on earth. Mm-hmm. So is Niagara Falls. So is Beijing. So is Japan, Tokyo. So is the monuments in Africa, South America, even the things that we see in US, Canada. There's things that we don't even know exist in Antarctica because it's too cold for us to even get there. But these things we can create things with we envision what we want and what we expect, and then we actually put our hands into the pot and actually begin to do the work, and then we see how it happens. So where we build buildings, like we've gone paperless. All throughout the world we've gone paperless, and it's a good thing because trees produce oxygen, but the world is 70% water. There's always going to be enough oxygen here. So where we should be planting seeds and building more trees to continue to build paper and products and minerals and all of the things that we use from the earth to develop what we have as our global infrastructure, we're not replanting those things that we need. We're using our natural resources to promote technology, so that technology can eventually be, we have buildings and we have all of this, censorship and, everything that we're doing, we're undoing our natural essence, the natural essence of who we are, because we're getting used to not having to do anything. And then when we get used to having to do anything, what are we going to then do? Turn to technology, and then technology will rule us. And then we won't have a choice but to come back together. But it will be too late because we've created such powerful computer systems. We have robots doing human jobs. And that's why the economy is shutting down, or the economy continues to inflate and deflate, because we're allowing systems to do the things that we should be doing with one another, because it's easier and more profitable for me to teach a machine how to do it to save more money than to teach a person. Because it requires time and money and effort, and it's stress. It's good stress, but it's stress.
So the reason why I said, so you bring up very, very good points, and you also validate why we're still here. Mm-hmm. So a couple of things. STEM is this is globally recognized as the one thing that we should all do because we're moving in that direction. But garbage in gives us garbage out. Correct. So if we have an educational system that is pouring into children what is financially beneficial to those who have structured the hierarchy, then we're going to get garbage out based off of what they're putting in. Mm-hmm. We recognize that we are creating more children or more students or more soldiers of tell me what to do and I'll do it, no thinking involved. Then you are having where children or students or individuals are able to creatively develop and bring out new features and new things that would help to progress us forward. So everything you're saying is absolutely correct. So we're building, so it is us, all of the adults are building an environment that's full of technology and making us extremely technically crippled. Mm-hmm. Because when AT&T went down for the couple of hours, people thought they were losing their minds, right? Yeah. Oh my gosh, what's happening? What am I going to do now, right? But when you look at the school incorporates technology, but only to their benefit, not to the family or the students' benefit. COVID brought out the fact that there are a lot of students who are homeless, one that we don't really talk about. And the other one is they're low income, so they cannot afford the basics, let alone affording the opportunity to be able to participate in a class when it's virtual, right? So there's all this stuff that was churning around that. But there's a disconnect because the world is continuing to move forward with technology. And we know our kids are going to end up with cell phones. But again, I have to impress upon you. I was told if you want your child to see porn, give them a device that launches into the internet. Because no matter what you do, somebody, because they are that person, is going to find a way to show some parts of something that you do not want your child to see on the app, because that's what they want to do. So we recognize it's there, but Anne's saying, well, let me help you protect your credibility along the way. We recognize you're going to do this, but let me help you correct it. But she's also saying to the schools, now let me help you communicate to your community and your family so you can improve how that child is being taught. So now we're starting to narrate or facilitate the improvements in education that we want to see for our children. Because Before COVID, they were having a hard time. After COVID, a lot of them don't wish to return back to school. They're not interested in going on to college. And a lot of them are reporting more and more anxiety and depression and, thoughts of suicide. And it's a big thing. So I just want to kind of look at why is it that we are struggling to put technology into the schools that help the students, because, and then two, cell phone things is a big thing here in Texas. They are putting together those bags where the kids will have to put their phones in the bag because they can't be without their phones, and the schools don't want them to be here. The schools don't want them to have the devices while they're in school because it's a distraction. Okay, but you enacted bring your own devices. And somewhere in that meeting, we didn't think all the way out what that was going to look like. Mm-hmm. And some devices are not as good as other devices. And some of the families can't afford those devices. So again, we're back to these same situations. So communication is key. Technology needs to move. And there are things that people are saying. There are things that people are saying that are hurting our children on a regular basis because of the fact that garbage in gives us garbage out. So how do we go about solving some of that for our parents? Because that's what we need to tell them. What do we need to do? What do they need to do to be better?
So Kathy said something interesting. She brought up the different learning styles. So everyone has a different learning style. But to eliminate that system, for one, we have to first understand that there's profitability and there's also gratification in the deviancy that exists in all of these systems that should operate the proper way. So we're right now we're fighting against technology because it exposes our children to things that build self-gratification, which also disintegrates their attention span. So something that's more interesting to them that they've already been exposed to, because once you come into the knowledge of something, it has to mature. You don't unlearn things that you see and hear or feel. You don't unlearn that. It has to mature once you find interest or pleasure in it. So now we know that we can't say that technology is 100% bad. Again, everything has an equivalent opposite. So everything that's good about it is bad, and everything that's bad about it has to be some good too. That's the yin yang theory. It's the balance, the equilibrium of a wrong could actually be a right and a right could actually be a wrong. But the only way we can identify which is wrong and which is right is to come to a common understanding of what both of them actually are, so that we understand how to employ it into the system. So now where technology is, or with any system, the only real true way to make it work is to eliminate the concept of monetary gain. Because if money stopped existing today, we'd still have to do the work. It wouldn't matter who's profiting and who's not profiting. The work would still need to get done. The only real thing that's stopping us from actually improving these systems all across the globe is actually having an interest, desire, and heart to spend the time that is necessary to do what needs to be done. Because think about the teachers who teach students who are dyslexic, those who have learning disabilities, the autistic. It takes patience to teach them. And the more patient you are, you're able to discover that these are some of the smartest people in the world. So we're impatient because we expect everything to fix itself now. We expect everything to be done now. Like people who build generational wealth, they've accepted the fact that the world is not going to change. So I'm going to do as much as I possibly can to create generational wealth for those who are coming after me so that they could potentially do it. So we built this system on, okay, well, how do we survive? We survive by eliminating the competition between systems. You have the food industry fighting against the healthcare system. You have the healthcare system fighting against insurance. You have insurance fighting against, consumer law. You have consumer laws fighting against, the criminal law. You have criminal law fighting against the idea and the concept of democracy and republic or freedom that exists in both those systems. So if all of these systems align, then we actually will begin to operate in a system that works for the greater good of everyone, because nothing can exist without it. Think about the concept of man and woman. We cannot procreate without that ordained system that was created. Even they're building cities over in the Middle East. I believe it's Dubai, somewhere around Dubai, population of several million people. they're going to need water supply. Where's it going to come from? It's going to come through a manifold system. What's the manifold system? It's to connect in the pipelines. The connected the pipelines. How does that happen? You have the male end, the female end, and it connects. The flow of water, the moment it disconnects, the source goes back into the ground to start a whole new process, which is fertilization, plantation, development. We don't know what elements are down there that are actually going to grow from it. So we need to understand it about one another. We don't know which element or which part of the system we're existing in to create this system that works for universal synergy, universal synthesis. It's not, oh, well, this has to be this way and this. We've gotten comfortable as humans, like of all races, of all cultural backgrounds, of all, speaking all different languages. We've gotten comfortable existing in the shell of what we've been taught. Who's the quote? I believe it's Alvin Toffler. Just said that the illiterate of the 21st century will not be those who cannot read and write, but those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. We get comfortable with the knowledge that we know, and we don't think that, again, what we're talking about now in 30 years, someone's going to have a better idea to fix even the problems that they find in what we are deciding to develop.
That's a very good point, and I'm going to let Ann speak, because I'm going to say that this is very true. If we create a system that the students will be able to go through from zero all the way until they become adults, they are going to be more inclined to be able to support themselves, support the community that they are part of, yes, and the rest of us, right? So we're able to continue to progress that forward. Ann, what's your thoughts on this?
Well, I agree with everything that's said. I also just want to add to that too, because in the domain of I think you said it, we're in the shell of what we've been taught. Is that correct, Dr. Richardson? Is that what you just said? Yes. Okay. So I agree with that. And I think while that's this part of the solution, it's also part of the problem. And what I mean by that is that we are so busy being taught things. And I think part of the challenge I see with our school system is that we're so busy trying to move these kids forward, which isn't a bad trait, right? We all want to move every student forward, and we all want to help every person be successful, right? And get to that. And that's where, like, to your point, to what Dr. Richardson was just saying is that, that's why we get frustrated with students who have differentiated learning styles, and whereas, we know they're brilliant. And so we need to change that ecosystem of being taught things and because if you think about it as most teachers and counselors, and they ask students with the best of intentions, all right, what do you want to be? Or, what are you good at? What do you like to do? But you know what we haven't done? We haven't taught them to think about how they're supposed to figure out who they are. We haven't taught them how to figure out what it is they like to do, nor are we teaching them effectively how to figure out what they should want to do with their lives. And I think that is where the component of that self-reflective nature and teaching them to take all the digital media and all the technology that Dr. Richardson was just talking about, that is very, very great it's awesome for so many things. But technology can also be the biggest challenge of those things if you don't learn to utilize it for your own self-value and figure out your self-worth in it. Like, to the point of where do you fit in with all that technology? We should be trying to teach the kids to harness the technology from a young age, so that by the time you're our age, or my age at least, because I'm older than both of you, I think, but but I've been in technology for a very, very long time. You want to help them harness that so that by the time they get to be an adult, they aren't going, well, where do I fit?
Yep.
How do I do this? And then they don't have the tools to try to figure it out. Yep. So we need to help these kids harness everything around them well, and harness their information and help them to understand their value and where they fit. and help them to do that on an ongoing basis, because no one stays the same. We're all constantly evolving. We're all constantly learning. We're all constantly changing. That's the only real constant in life, right? Is change.
It's change. Yep.
Other than maybe death and taxes, right? But other than that,
Yes.
outside of death and taxes, change is the constant, right? So, that's a good thing, but it also can leave. And I think that's a big part of the challenges of today, and why mental health and other things have been such a big problem today, because so many people are trying to figure out, how do I fit with all of this? And I don't know what I want to be. You tell me what I want to be. Yes. And then if you tell me what I want to be, I'll be that, because then I feel good because I've made a decision and I know what I'm supposed to be or supposed to do, or who I am supposed to, how I'm supposed to feel.
Right.
And it's not about what we're taught all the time.
It isn't.
It's got to be what we teach ourselves some
right.
of the time.
But
it's got to be that combination.
This is true.
I think.
Yes, you're right. Once we get to a certain point. So 0 through 18 years of age, 0 through 5 is us, right? We're number one. We're parent and teacher number one. We get to just say, okay, my value systems are this. This is what I was taught as I was growing up. This is what I've learned since I've decided to give birth to a child. And these are the value systems that I want to incorporate moving forward. We get to choose what we indoctrinate our children with, right? What we gift them, in life, because we're teacher and parent number one. School turns out to be parent number two. So school, that is our co-parenting relationship. I don't know if anybody's thought about it or what we're thinking in that terms of that, but we really have to get to the place where we have to understand that school is parent too. And this is how you know. So I was listening to listen to another parent, and they had given their child all of this advocacy, teaching them, things like that, sent them into school. And the school, when that parent wasn't present, started doing this thing. And you notice how my hand came out of the screen to the child. So now what do you think happened? After COVID, that child says, I have zero interest in going back to school. And now he has a new problem, because now there is no way you can get him back in the classroom. Parent number two was able to make him quiet, to make him silent, to tell him his voice doesn't count. When you do things like that, it impacts their development for all areas of their lives. Because now at home, he doesn't feel comfortable enough to have those conversations in a safe place, because at school, parent number two says, you don't count. I don't want to hear you. And whatever that messaging is, right?
And I think we're actually saying almost the same thing, because 0 to 5 is almost the most essential time for you to kind of teach them. But they also can learn at that point in time on their own too, to a large degree. And that's what we forget, right? We're so busy again teaching them, and I agree that, yes, we have to instill values, and yes, there are things to be taught, and there's things to be taught throughout everybody's life, right? We're all in professional development courses and things like that. So in no way was I saying that teaching isn't a big part of what we have to be. But as little ones, though, again, what we forget is, so that if they go to parent number two, which I absolutely agree with you, because these kids are spending 8 hours. If you think about it, 8 hours.
No, I tell you how many hours they spend
in school, right? And they're home by the time they go to sleep. Like, you haven't even spent the 8 hours with them, so they have to be your co-parent. So I'm not disagreeing with that aspect of it. And I agree, if there's a co-parent who's given them different. But that's the problem is with the school system, and the parents have to be able to communicate better. It goes back to that communication element, right? And then on top of that, they have to realize they're dealing with a human being, that from birth on, you actually have your own emotions. I know people don't think about that, but it's true. When you're born, you have certain emotions. You're going to cry and scream and like things and not like things. When a baby doesn't like the taste of something.
Yes.
So remember, from up to age 5, and beyond, even at those early stages, if you teach kids and help them understand to figure out, okay, well, what do you like?
Yep.
And then if they're like, I don't know, like help them figure out what they like. Don't tell them what they should like, right? So like, I think there has to be this give and take from when they're very little all the way through the continuum K-12 environment.
So
this is true. I'm not disagreeing with you. I believe that. So I'm going to say home, parent 1, teacher 1, school, parent 2, community is the bonus parent. That's the one that keeps a lot of things in line. I believe in that function, right? Because I believe that that's where a lot of the good comes into play. One of the point I was working to make is that the teaching staff, they can take the value systems that you put in and remove them. And they can inject their thoughts and process, which says that you cannot have critical and independent thinking. That is where the mishap is happening for me, right? Mm-hmm. And for this, unfortunately, what I'm going to say is this. Yes, your school is taking away the ability for some schools, not all, some schools are taking away the ability for you to teach critical and independent thinking. Yes. But this is where co-parenting works out really, really well. They may not teach it at school, but that does not mean that they do not have an opportunity to be taught that specifically. And you teach critical and independent thinking in multitudes of ways. I did this one thing. My kids would be in the back seat, and I would say, I will not drive unless you tell me which direction to go, right? And I help them to start to pay attention to the things that are around them and understand what's the next logical step. There were things that I started to incorporate in what we were doing. They would come to me and they were like, hey, I'm ready to eat. What are we eating for dinner? I don't know. What are our choices? Well, wait a second. This is your job. Pause. No, ma'am. No, sir. We're not doing that. You need to come with options. So, and I'll never forget this because my kids are road kids. So we're always on the road, driving. And I'm always on the interstate, apparently. Driving. And my son says, I'm hungry. I'm like, cool. What do you want to eat? McDonald's. I was like, no, sir, that's not how we do that. I'm going to need you to think ahead of time, visualize what you want, and then tell me so we can look for it. And he's like, okay. He's so upset with me, throwing shoes at me and socks from the back seat. I understand. He's upset, right? But then he says, Wendy's. I was like, okay, so you didn't get the message. I'm still not stopping because you got to tell me so I know I can prepare to stop. Now, after a couple of those incidents, I can honestly say my kids would get in a car and says, we want Panera, right? We want Panera. And I was like, okay, so I guess we're looking for Panera. And they were like, yes, right? So it changed. So giving them space and giving them an opportunity to communicate back to you without consequence will open up the door in a lot of cases for communication when it comes to your children and helping them to find and learn their critical and independent thinking. That part, I believe, can and should start at home, because if you teach them at home with parent 1 and teacher 1, when they go to school, they'll be able to help navigate bad teachers.
Yeah. So what that is, and I actually glad you said that, because Ann was also talking about the how. You know, we get so caught up in teaching them what they need to know, and now we're addressing the how. And what the how is, and this is what I would suggest is the solution, because take for example, we have standardized testing, and standardized testing is proven on what we have in our society through statistics, which is never 100% accurate because we can only test but a fraction of the population, right? So the how, what that actually looks like is giving them an opportunity to actually display it with hands-on activity. So where we're testing to see what we know and what we should be funding, so we can create these programs, which actually turns our society into something completely different. If you give them the opportunity to display it with activity, what do you give them? An opportunity to learn a what? Skill.
Mm-hmm.
And when they begin to do what they believe they know, they are either going to do one or two things or three things. They're either going to like it, or they're not going to like it, or they're going to try to figure out a way or how they can do it better. Because no one thinks of an idea of how to do anything worse. That's
that's very true. You're spot on.
And where we see regressional results is because of a level of understanding that they still do not have. So we see results getting worse and worse because we actually haven't corrected the knowledge that they have, which is why we have murderers, thieves, rapists, liars, adulterers. It's a knowledge. But if we can redo the knowledge through activity, we actually see the progress. So we have standardized testing, which helps us promote college development or postdoctoral, graduate schools and all these other good, academic institutions. And people are actually going to school to study more and more things that we see them qualifying for with cognitive knowledge, but we don't actually see them going to study things that they really, really are actually good at. For instance, myself, I went to school to study law first, and I had loved law for so long, but law is not something that I'm good at because I don't even identify with its foundation. And it's not to say that the foundation is incorrect. It's just it doesn't identify with my interest. My interest is actually education. It's not the debate of right and wrong. It's the debate of the lack of understanding. So that's two different types of mental skills. So if we look at how these systems work, and Mrs. Dunn said something, she said the person's choosing to please of what and who they are. What that's called is adverse codependency. And adverse codependency keeps that child or that individual in a cycle of looking to accomplish a bunch of different things to prove that they can actually do when they never had to do it in the beginning, because now they have to become someone completely different than who they were originally. And they have to unlearn that part of themselves to get back to that takes decades.
Yeah.
It takes decades. We don't have that kind of time. We're barely making it out of, we're not even getting past age. People are dying before they get a chance to see age 50.
Yeah.
Due to bad habits, due to the things that we don't know. So we have to, again, we have to unlearn. We have to unlearn, we have to reteach. And where it starts is this, and this is the bottom line issue. Where it starts is us admitting all over the globe that, you know what, we've all been wrong this entire time.
Oh, I've been wrong every day. Every day I have something new. I find that I'm wrong, and I'm okay, because you know what that tells me? I know where I went wrong and what the outcome was at that node, and I can make a change for next time, because it's going to come back. And so that's the thing. So we're going to wrap up. So, I mean, hopefully you have a couple of things that you want to say on the outside. Yeah. What I will say of one is I want to make sure that I do all those things. So special thanks to Helpopedia. Our friends at Helpopedia, they have been able to help a lot of people with a lot of parents prepare for colleges, and also help with mental health and different things like that. If you are having any challenges and need advocacy or need a support group, go ahead and scan that QR code and connect with Helpopedia. We have friends that are willing to help us. And also, as a reminder, please, please scan to like and subscribe to the channel. What I will say is this: at the end of the day, a lot of what we spend 18 years with our children, if we're fortunate, okay? And I just had this conversation with a parent, and I remember the day when I told the AP he could no longer come back into my IEP meeting. And I said, "You're no longer welcome here, and I will make sure that you do not show up again." And I'll tell you, it was because what he said was, "You don't matter. I matter. When you're not in the building, I will do to your child what I want to do to them," right? My child was under an IEP. So unfortunately, what he was suggesting for my child, he was not ready. The reason why I knew he wasn't ready was because even though my kiddos spent 2,600 hours outside of me, my hula hoop, I took the time to spend with them to determine where they were in their educational journey. So I knew he wasn't ready for what they were trying to gift him too early. And what I explained to him was this: you have him for 3 years. I have him for life. We are connected for life. So one of us, the only way we get out of this relationship is if one of us dies. And unfortunately, I'll be the one. that has that longevity. And it's unfair and not acceptable for you to tell me that because of my history and my future with him that I don't count. That makes you a non-factor, and I removed him from the space, right? So parents have choices, and I just want everybody to understand that it starts with communication. Today, this conversation was strictly about communication. If you missed that,
Yeah.
we have communication in systems. We have communication with how we get our kids to where they're going to go. We have communication with how they are feeling and what they like to do. So we hit on all three places: school, college, home, and even the community. And all of it stems with communication. So these people, so Ann and Dr. Richardson, Ann Sullivan and Dr. Richardson came to show us what they're doing to support schools, our teachers, our parents, and our community with communication. Understanding what our outcomes are going to be is extremely important, because that is what's going to help us be able to improve that child's experience. So I'll go ahead and let you go and say your last words and allow people to go ahead and connect with you.
Great. Well, thanks so much again, Tabitha, for having me on today. I just really hope that, our schools and family knows that I think that all of us are really trying really our best to communicate effectively and do things really, really well. It doesn't mean that we all can't do something a little bit better or a little bit differently. And I hope what they will consider that each student is an individual that carries a value, and their value can be very different across individuals. And so, everyone should harness that value and help students be able to showcase what their value is, and help, honestly, schools should be able to also showcase what their value is, because every school is unique. Every school has its own personality, I believe, even regardless of public or private. And the reality is that that's a good thing.
Yeah.
And that's okay too. So I think everybody should really just work together to try to really be able to reflect on what they've done and be able to talk about and showcase what they've done to help to communicate among each other, among the parents, among the schools, and among the community, because that's how we're going to make this all work.
Yes. Awesome. All right. Kathy, did you get her QR code? Okay, Dr. Richardson.
Yeah, I just want to say, if you want to examine your education program, that being kindergarten, preschool, daycare, any grade level, university, college, if you take a moment and examine that you have a problem that you believe needs to be solved, reach out to me. You can find me on LinkedIn. You can find me on my LinkedIn page, Different Reasons Incorporated. You could also find me on www.schoolprok12.com. There's also another group of educators and people who have this idea of how we can improve our global education system. And I also want to encourage everyone to just think for a second that, I may not be right. I may need someone to teach me and train me on how I can do this better. Because if you never ask for help, you're never going to get help. And then your system will continue to fail. And you don't want to be accountable for the failure, because us as parents, to include myself, we're going to look at who's in charge. We're not going to look at the system. We're going to look at the people who have been entrusted to employ and operate within these systems that we've essentially built as a community. So look at who we are as a people, examine, evaluate, and then make a decision so that we can start today to do the work, so that we don't have to worry about it again tomorrow.
I love that. Somebody just told me earlier today, when's the best time to plant a tree? 20 years ago. But okay, you're here now. So when should you plant your tree? That is now. Right. So that's important. So thank you very much for spending your time with us. Thank you, all of my friends and people who came to visit. I hope you got something out of this. This was a really good conversation, and it definitely lets you know, communication is a key. It is the beginning and the end of all things. And if you don't do it right, guess what happens? A whole lot of stuff doesn't get done. So, like normal, just remember, you're not an island. We do need people, and we just have to learn to communicate with them. So, as normal. Same time, same channel next week. We'll see you again. Words are power. Please remember to use them wisely.
Thank you for your time today. We appreciate the support and look forward to you visiting us again next week. Same time, same place. Until then, words are power. Please remember to use them wisely. If you have an interest but like to be on our live show, please let us know and send us a direct message.